All right, so you really want to get into Canadian construction unions, huh?
It looks like it.
We've got a whole bunch of your stuff right here,
Yeah.
articles, research, even some of your own notes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear you want to go beyond just like the basic stuff.
Right.
So get ready, because we're diving deep. We're going to uncover the what and the why of these unions.
Absolutely.
Why they're so powerful, why they cause so much debate, and can they actually handle the future of construction?
You know, it's really interesting how much Canadian history is tied up with construction unions.
Well, yeah.
We're not just talking about buildings here.
Okay.
We're talking about the whole idea of workers' rights,
Yeah.
like the foundation of it all.
So take us back to the beginning.
Okay.
When did this all start?
Let's picture Canada in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Working conditions in construction were,
Right.
well, to put it nicely, pretty rough.
Right.
Long hours,
Yeah.
dangerous work, barely any pay.
Yeah.
It was basically a system built to take advantage of people. So naturally, workers started joining forces,
Makes sense.
forming these early craft unions. Your carpenters, bricklayers, ironworkers.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted better treatment, plain and simple.
Okay, so that brings us to the Toronto Typographical Union strike in 1872, right?
You got it.
That feels like a major turning point.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Back then, demanding a 9-hour workday
Right.
was like a radical idea.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Nowadays, it seems totally normal.
Yeah.
But it sent shockwaves through the country.
Wow.
And that eventually led to the Trade Union Act of 1872.
Oh, wow. So this is like a landmark moment.
It was. For the first time, unions were recognized by law in Canada.
Mm.
A huge win.
So basically, this act set the stage for the entire organized labor movement we see today.
That's the gist. Yep.
But what about now?
Right.
Construction unions aren't just a thing of the past, are they?
Not at all.
Okay.
They're still major players
Yeah.
representing a big chunk of construction workers.
And their impact.
Well,
What's that looking like?
it's pretty clear to see. On average, unionized construction workers make 20 to 30% more
Wow.
than those who aren't in a union.
Okay.
But it's not only about bigger paychecks.
Right.
We're talking better health care,
Mm-hmm.
stronger pensions,
Yeah.
and a big emphasis on training and safety.
Yeah, that higher wage thing that always gets people talking.
Yeah.
Is it all just down to tough union negotiating? Or are there other things going on?
Okay.
Like, do unionized workers bring something special to the table?
Right.
Something that makes those higher costs worth it?
That's the core of the debate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some argue that higher wages come with higher productivity
Okay.
and a more skilled workforce.
Right?
They point to those union-run apprenticeship programs as proof.
Yeah.
These
Oh.
programs are training highly skilled workers
Okay.
who not only work more efficiently,
Right.
but also really understand safety procedures
Mm-hmm.
deeply
So it's not just demanding more money. It's
Yeah.
about investing in workers. Yeah,
to make those higher wages beneficial for everyone involved.
that's the idea.
Right?
Now, when you consider that construction is inherently dangerous,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
the unions have really pushed for better safety standards on job sites.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that unionized sites actually have fewer injuries
Hmm.
and fatalities.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. But I'm curious about the other side of the argument, too.
Mm.
What are the main points against construction unions?
Of course, we got to look at both sides.
Yeah.
Critics often say that higher wages and stricter rules have a downside.
Okay.
They say it makes construction projects more expensive
Right.
and can lead to delays.
Okay.
There's also worry that unions can be too inflexible,
Mhm.
stifling new ideas,
Yeah.
and making it hard for companies to adapt to changing needs on projects.
And we can't ignore those occasional accusations of
Right.
corruption and conflicts between unions.
Yeah, those are real concerns that keep the debate going.
Right. Unions are fighting for workers' rights,
Mm.
but sometimes those rights might clash with things like project efficiency or even what's good for the public.
Right.
It's complicated with no simple solutions.
Sounds like navigating this whole thing
Yeah,
requires a delicate balance
it does.
between protecting worker rights
Mm-hmm.
and ensuring the construction industry stays strong and competitive.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that brings us right to the future of construction unions in Canada.
Okay.
With all the new challenges the industry is facing.
Yeah.
Things like labor shortages, technological advancements,
Right.
the push for eco-friendly building practices.
Yeah.
The role of unions is more important than ever.
But how are they adapting?
Right.
I mean, you mentioned those apprenticeship programs,
Yeah.
but what about things like automation
Okay.
and prefabrication?
Mm-hmm.
These trends could really shake up the traditional construction workforce.
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing unions starting to engage with these new technologies,
Okay.
pushing for training programs
That
that
will.
give workers the skills they need in this changing landscape.
Hmm.
They're also advocating for policies
Right.
that make sure these advancements benefit the workers,
Yeah.
not just the companies.
So they're trying to stay ahead of the game
Yeah.
and make sure union jobs are still relevant in the future.
Exactly.
You know, before we go further, I want to go back to something you said earlier,
Okay.
something that really stuck with me.
Okay.
You talked about how those early unions fought for a 9-hour workday,
Right.
which seems basic now,
Yeah.
but was a big deal back then.
Evolutionary.
It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what are the 9-hour workdays of today?
Good question.
Yeah.
What are those seemingly radical ideas that unions are pushing for now?
Right.
The ones that might shape the future of construction?
Exactly.
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
Something worth exploring further. Maybe it's about advocating for a more sustainable and fair construction industry.
Okay.
One that prioritizes the well-being of workers alongside taking care of the environment.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
It's like we're uncovering layers of history, echoes of past struggles
Yeah,
that are still important today.
absolutely.
But to understand where we're going,
Right.
we need to dig deeper into what's happening now.
Exactly. And that's what we'll do in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, so stay tuned for more.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Canadian construction unions.
Before the break, we were talking about those like 9-hour workdays of today.
Right.
Those kind of big ideas that
Yeah.
unions are pushing for that could really change the industry. From all this research we've been looking at, what are some things that stand out to you?
One thing that really pops out is this focus on sustainability.
Okay.
It's not just about using eco-friendly building materials anymore. Unions are really getting behind things like reducing the carbon footprint on construction sites, pushing for energy-efficient building practices,
Right.
and even retraining programs so workers can adapt to these new technologies.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If the industry is going green,
Right.
the workforce needs to go green too.
Yeah, exactly.
But how are they actually doing this? Are we talking about specific policies, negotiations,
Yeah.
actual initiatives?
It's a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
So on one hand, you have unions negotiating for things like greener transportation options for workers,
Right.
on-site waste reduction programs, and even encouraging the use of electric-powered equipment.
Okay.
On the other hand, they're working with government agencies and training schools to develop those upskilling programs we talked about.
So it's not a passive thing.
No.
They're not just waiting around.
Nope.
They're actively shaping this change.
Absolutely. And this connects to another important theme that comes up a lot in these sources,
Yeah.
social responsibility within the construction industry.
Okay, break that down for me.
Right.
What does social responsibility even mean when we're talking about concrete and steel?
It means understanding that construction projects have a wider impact.
Okay.
They affect communities in different ways. We're
Right.
talking about things like fair labor practices, engaging with the community, even supporting local businesses.
Right.
Unions are pushing for projects that not only create jobs,
Yeah.
but also benefit the people living nearby.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
It's like their focus is expanding.
Right.
It's not just about the workers on the site anymore. It's about the whole social fabric.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the listener's question about those potentially game-changing technologies like automation and prefabrication.
Yeah.
It's not just about adapting to these changes. It's about shaping how they're put into practice.
Right.
Unions are fighting for policies that make sure these advancements lead to new opportunities for workers instead of replacing them altogether.
So basically making sure progress doesn't come at the cost of people's livelihood.
Exactly.
Okay.
That means being proactive,
Yeah.
working with industry leaders, policymakers, even tech companies to find solutions that work for everyone.
This is really painting a dynamic picture of construction unions in Canada. It's not about clinging to the past.
No.
It's about shaping the future.
Exactly.
But let's be real.
Okay.
They're facing some serious challenges.
Absolutely.
We talked about some of them.
Yeah.
The possibility of jobs being lost because of automation.
Right.
The need to constantly upskill the workforce. The ongoing debate about labor costs and regulations.
Yeah.
And then there are those internal issues.
Right.
Those conflicts between different unions.
Exactly.
Like they're walking a tightrope.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to balance fighting for worker rights, adapting to new technologies, and navigating all these pressures from both inside and outside.
It's a tough balancing act for sure.
You know, as we dig into all this,
Yeah.
I can't help but think about the individual workers.
Right.
Those people who are out there every day building our cities, our infrastructure, our future.
It's important to remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
What does all this mean for them?
Right.
How are their lives directly affected by these big trends and challenges?
That's a key point.
Yeah.
Behind all the stats and negotiations and policy debates, there are real people whose lives depend on this industry.
For them, it's about having a good paying job.
Absolutely.
Feeling safe at work.
Right.
Knowing they have a say in their working conditions. It's about security.
Yeah.
For themselves and their families.
Exactly.
And that's where the union comes in, right?
Yeah.
To be that collective voice to fight for those basic needs and rights.
Precisely. And as the industry keeps changing,
Yeah.
the union's role in things like providing training, advocating for fair wages, ensuring safe working conditions, that becomes even more important.
I'm starting to see this whole issue differently.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about unions versus employers.
Right.
It's about finding a way to create a construction industry that's sustainable and fair.
Yeah.
One that benefits everyone.
You got it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about finding that balance.
Right.
Where workers are treated well and the industry can still progress.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to go back to something we talked about at the beginning of that main question of whether construction unions can adapt to all this change while staying true to their core values.
Right.
Based on what we've learned. What are your final thoughts on that?
From what we've seen, I'd say they absolutely can.
Okay.
They're showing a real ability to evolve and change, embracing new technologies, pushing for social responsibility, and continuing to fight for worker rights.
Okay.
Even in a world that's changing so fast.
It's pretty inspiring to see that dedication to progress while still holding on to their roots.
Absolutely.
But I have a feeling this conversation isn't over.
Probably not.
There's still so much to explore.
Right.
So many different angles to think about.
Exactly. That's what's great about this deep dive format.
Yeah.
It lets us peel back the layers, see the complexities, and spark those thought-provoking conversations.
And speaking of discussions, we want to hear from you.
That's right.
Our listeners. We've talked about a lot here.
Yeah, we have.
From the history of Canadian construction unions to the challenges and opportunities they're facing today.
Right.
But now... we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on all this?
Have you ever thought about the people behind those huge construction projects you see everywhere?
Right, like...
What are their lives actually like?
Yeah.
What role do unions play in their everyday experiences?
We've gone over the pros and cons, the higher wages, the safety rules, the potential downsides like inflexibility and conflicts. Yeah. But what really stands out to you?
Right, what resonates?
Do you think unions are a positive force, or do you have some doubts?
Yeah. We're not looking for right or wrong answers here.
Yeah, just
honest thoughts.
Right.
Every perspective matters.
Absolutely.
And these open discussions help us all understand this complicated world better.
So head over to the comments. And tell us what you think.
Let's hear it.
Share your insights, your own experiences, even your questions.
Yeah.
We're really interested to hear from you.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe your comment will inspire the next deep dive.
That's right. Your input shapes the show. Definitely.
So don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button and join us as we keep exploring this fascinating, sometimes controversial, always thought-provoking world around us.
Until next time, stay curious.